Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is peace and violence. And it should be an interesting discussion. Before we get started, let's just settle in and get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it and feel that energy just coursing through your body and enlivening all your cells. And when you exhale, exhale any tension in your shoulders and your neck and your jaw and your back. And take another deep breath in through your nose. Hold it and just imagine sparkling light moving throughout all your body, all through and beyond, and radiating health and vitality. And exhale any remaining tension. And then let's gently press our palms together and softly rub your fingers against your palms. Feel the tingling in your fingers. Feel the tingling in your palms. And let's bring ourselves present right here, right now. Welcome. So today's topic is peace and violence. And I'm not talking about overt violence. I'm talking about the violence that we do we when we try to muscle someone into our way of thinking, or even muscle ourselves into a particular way of thinking that might not be natural for us. So a sense of peace comes from an inner alignment. As I have experienced greater and greater alignment, I experience greater and greater peace. And one of the ways that we bring ourselves out of alignment is by not listening to our inner guidance, by allowing ourselves to be swayed by the will of others or the directives of others without without really aligning internally. And this is actually a topic that I've spoken about before, but I'm framing it differently now in the context of peace and violence. And I want to say good morning to Dido. Hi, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Uh, so let's look at what brings peace and what alignment means. And I think that this is really a poignant topic for right now, because what we see outside is a reflection of inside, and the inside is a reflection of outside. So by observing what's going on in the world, we can perchance gain greater insight into what is actually going on inside, and vice versa. So this notion of alignment is really enabling yourself to deepen into, to soften into a connection with what might be a very, very faint voice inside of guidance, because we have so overwhelmed our intuition and our deep knowing with ideas of having to achieve and having to accomplish and having to do, and lots of have tos. And in overwhelming that voice, it stops talking, or it talks more and more faintly. And so we get to figure out how to reconnect with that voice. And one of the ways that we can do that is through breath and through just sitting quietly when faced with a decision, and allowing what emerges to come forth, and to listen in. And we're being called right now to listen in more deeply to the responses that we have to what's going on in the world, and the pain of that, and the shame of that, and all these other feelings that are attendant to it. And as we recognize those feelings, we allow them to have some voice so that we can heal them. And I've spoken about this a lot too, but what we're talking about today is alignment and peace and versus violence. And so by listening to that inner voice, we can find a surer sense of guidance and direction. And when we act from a place of demand, or values that may not be actually our own, it is a way of doing violence to ourselves. Like, we'll often force ourselves into certain routines and certain choices, even if we think they're good for us. Sometimes, especially because we think they're good for us, we'll force ourselves into a routine and discipline, and require ourselves and others to meet certain standards. I want to say hi to Tammy Martin. Welcome. I'm really glad you're here, Tammy. Thanks for being with us this morning. So I know that in our culture, we are focused on doing and accomplishing, and more is better, and we're only as good as what we do in the world, and we're only worth what we produce. And these are all assumptions that we're called to question now more than ever, because we need to create a new paradigm for living in this world if we're going to create the world that we dream of being in, where people are equal, where people are joyful, where people are expressed and happy. And so how do we do that? Because we have been so focused, and I've talked about life as a product rather than as a process, and that's how we as a culture interact with living. That whole paradigm is truly doing violence to ourselves and to each other, and it's what enables us to do violence to the planet, because we perceive ourselves as other than other people, other than nature, even other than ourselves, when we view our bodies as separate. We want to control our bodies. We want to dominate our bodies. It's so pervasive in our culture. And I spoke the other day about the notion of competition. It's a similar idea here. When we think of ourselves as separate, we do violence to ourselves and one another. And so the choice for peace is a choice of connection to ourselves, connection to others. And when we seek peace, we can find that, as I said, in alignment. So techniques for achieving alignment. One is breath, deep breaths into your belly, using your belly as a bellows, just expanding your belly as you breathe in and collapsing your belly as you breathe out, rather than breathing up in the top of your chest. When you do that, it deepens your relaxation, and it brings you more into your body and into more presence. And Dido says our culture sees life as a product rather than as a process. Brilliantly put. Thank you, Dido. Thank you. So, uh, when we connect with life as process, meaning let's smell the roses, literally, literally, let's smell the roses. Let's breathe deeply into our bellies. Let's feel that breath. Let's just do that right now. Just take a moment and in through your nose, just breathe into your belly, all the way down into your belly, and let your belly expand as you breathe in rather than in your chest. And you can even put your hand on your belly to make sure it's expanding. And then as you exhale, collapse your belly. And then you can feel your hand moving into your body. And then breathe in again through your nose, deep into your belly, even if you have to force it out initially till you get used to it, and then exhale and release your belly and let it collapse. And you can probably feel the relaxation just starting as your body slows down, as you become a bit more present. And when we become more present, we can allow our minds to slow down. As the mind slows down, we find ourselves more in alignment, and we find our ability to be more peaceful. And I think what our culture is calling for right now is a recognition of what this means to be at peace and peaceful, especially in such turbulent times. And when we look at the call for equality, how we look at it is often as a fight. We're fighting for our rights. We're fighting for equality. We're fighting for the planet. We're fighting and fighting and fighting. And that is the paradigm of competition and domination and overcoming and struggle. And what we're looking to do really is create a world that is characterized by peace. So what we're called to do is to bring practices of peace to our affirmation and dedication and commitment to equality. So rather than fighting for it, let's look at how we can peace for it. I don't know what the right verb is, but how we can bring compassion and connection to our conversations, to our actions, just with the assurance and presence and alignment that has such a much greater strength to it, such a much greater authentic power to it than fighting. Because fighting is already recognizing opposition. When we're in alignment and when we have clarity, we can move forward with certainty, and we don't have to do violence to one another. We can listen, we can participate, we can bring about change because we know that that change needs to happen, and we don't have to be warring our way to that change. We don't have to be fighting. We can just be having consistent, deliberate, intentional movement and action. And the foundation of that is an inner peace, alignment, clarity, and I've seen this transformation in one of my clients especially, and it has been such an honor to witness this kind of transformation that came out of awareness and even the word surrender is kind of like implies fighting somehow, so I'm not going to use the word surrender, but a coming to a realization. So this client, I think I've spoken of them before. I know I have. Was trained as an athlete, and athletes are very, very competitive. And competition, when it's in the context of a game, is great as long as you allow yourself to be enjoying the play of the competition rather than making the competition, a vicious sort of fight battle. But what when this client recognized that competition pervaded every aspect of their lives, and it does for most of us in some way or another, in very invisible ways often, they were able to make a transformation that was so remarkable to a place of ease and peace. And this came very much from a an exercise that I had them do, where they were making a choice. They were and normally they would have gone along with the crowd, and they were in this position where they were kind of waffling about this choice they had made. And I invited them to engage in an exercise of feeling into their heart, to really source their own voice, and to allow themselves to entertain both sides of the choice, to entertain truly their own song, and the impulse of their heart. And I was so awed by the way that they proceeded. It was really quite remarkable. They took days to just be with what was present for them and all the voices that arose in the face of this choice. And at the end of the process, they made their choice. They were completely at peace about it. And that process of connecting deeply to their heart, and over days to really evoke the authentic voice of their own heart, it was such a powerful, powerful thing that they did, that it changed them. And they had a revelation of the power of that. And people that have witnessed this person have been commenting on the presence and power and just the strength that they are emanating. And it's from a place of no resistance. It's from a place of utter connection and peace. And this is what we're all called to find in this moment of time, rather than doing violence to ourselves by forcing ourselves into doing things that are out of alignment with our heart and soul. And the thing is that when we do connect with our heart and soul, we're in for surprises, because so often what our heart is calling for is not the path that we have been on. Another person connected with the importance of their intuition as a guide, And it was life altering. It's really the same conversation, to be connecting internally, deeply, with our actions, with our choices, with our expression. And the reason this is so important now, in of all times, is that we have an incredible momentum happening right now to start bringing justice into our world in a way that we haven't seen before. And to do that, let's do that from a place where we embody what it is we wish to see. You cannot achieve peace with violence. You cannot win peace with war. And so let's find a way to create peaceful bridges with one another and be the change we want to see in the world. So, this is all about inside to outside, outside to inside, being what we are trying to embody in the world, or what we intend to embody in the world. So I think that's it for today. Let's choose peace, and please check out the wonderful, wonderful programming here on Enlightened World Network. There are so many wonderful shows and people and community. So I invite you to connect, and let's dig more deeply into finding our own voice and our own guidance that is truly, truly from the heart, not from our mind, not from anger, not from someone else's passion, but from our own deep felt sense of love and connection. And let's move forward from there. With much love, great compassion, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I'm here weekdays at 9 a.m. And I want to thank you for being with me, and hope to have you join me again.